Welcome to some new r/malicious compliance stories, where people comply to the letter but not the spirit of a request. I hope you had a great day. Thanks for all the likes and comments on the last video. If you would like to support this channel, please hit the like button and consider subscribing if you enjoy the content. And now, let's start with the first story. It's called Time Policy. I work for a donations-driven non-profit and do much more than my job description dictates. Finding that I was not getting my primary job done, I asked my manager if I could come in early 30 minutes and leave early 30 minutes. All good. I show up 35 to 45 minutes early, leave 10 to 15 minutes late, don't take the mandatory 2 15-minute breaks, help everyone else, etc. and primary duties are covered. You're a regional manager who used to run a mega retail store. She can't understand why I am getting preferential treatment and demands that I get in lockstep with everyone else. I now show up on time, not early and not late. I take my 2 15-minute breaks and I leave on time, not early or late. I pass off as much as I can that is not directly related to my duties, and if my primary duties take a hit, I back up even more. Bottom line, she was getting almost 9 hours of work for 8 hours of pay, and now she's getting 8 for 8. Plus, I have adjusted my attitude to let it all slide off my back like water and the duck. The next story is called Bad at Math. This was many years ago. I worked for one of those big box stores that help you improve your home. This guy would come in every week and buy 3 cases of cheap spray paint. I asked him what he did with that much paint. He worked at an apartment complex and handed those to his crew, and they'd spot spray any chip paint they found. What a lot of people don't realize is those cans only look the same on the outside. The cheap can only cover 5 square feet. The more expensive covered 15 square feet. The cheap can was $1 and the expensive one was $2.50. So I told him one day that he could save money by buying 1 case of the expensive rather than 3 of the cheap one. He yelled at me that $2.50 was more than $1. I tried to explain it had 3 times the paint for less than 3 times the cost. He wasn't having any of my funny math, so I told him, "Thanks for your business, sir." The last story is called Always Right. About 9 years ago, I worked at a food service job within a retail store. This job was absolutely horrible, as I got written up for anything and everything I did. If I took my breaks, right up. If I didn't take my breaks, right up. I called out once with a doctor's note saying that I absolutely could not work, as my illness was highly contagious. Right up. Any excuse my supervisor could find to write me up, he did. Being in high school at the time, I took this very personally and assumed that I had done something wrong. I worked there for 2 years, taking each write-up as a learning opportunity. However, I finally reached a point where I recognized that it wasn't my fault, and the malicious compliance began. In this job there were add-ons, and these add-ons came with an upcharge. I had customers complain to me constantly about not wanting to be charged extra, but normally they would just pay it and move on. One customer, however, refused to pay for the add-on, but wanted it anyway. I pointed to the sign which said that it would cost extra, and tried my best to politely explain to her that I can't give it to her without charging her. She demanded to speak to my manager. I happily called the manager over, as at the time the leader was also my area supervisor. I call him Bob. Bob was employed through the retail store specifically. Regardless, I thought that surely Bob would have my back, as he knows the most about the rules that I had to follow. I was very wrong. After listening to the customer, Bob proceeded to yell at me in front of her, stating, "The customer is always right, and you are not paid to argue with her. Give her what she wants, and do not charge her for any of it." He also informed her that I would be written up for this, and I was. From that moment on, whenever a customer complained about having to pay for an add-on, I didn't charge them for it. If they demanded their items for free, stating that they didn't like them or had a bad experience in the past, I gave it to them for free. After all, the customer says that they shouldn't have to pay for it, so who was I to argue? Of course, he meant that I shouldn't argue to the point of the manager being called. But he didn't specify, and I didn't want to be written up for it again. Nor did I care to follow a do as I mean, not as I say policy anymore. It didn't take long for the people who worked in the actual retail store to learn that they could also get add-ons for free if they complained about it. At the time that they were ordering, they were technically customers. Each add-on cost between 60 cents and $1, and most customers wanted more than one add-on. So the company was losing an average of $2 to $3 per transactions on the add-ons alone, not even considering the customers who got their entire order for free. Of course, $2 to $3 doesn't seem like much, but it was enough to catch the attention of my district supervisor, who I will call Anne. Anne was employed by the food service company, and her job was to oversee the branches that were inside retail stores. Anne was very nice and respected the employees who worked with her company, regardless of if they weren't employed directly by her company, as was my case. She first asked Bob why our location appeared to be less profitable than other locations, and less profitable than it had been a few months previously. He tried to pin it on me, saying that I was stealing from the company by giving my friends and co-workers free items. Anne, understanding how serious of an accusation that was, insisted on speaking with me alone. I expected to be fired, but she instead asked me why profits had gone down. I explained to her what Bob had told me about the customer always being right, and how I had gotten written up and didn't want to be written up again, so I followed his instructions word for word. For the first time since starting this job, someone took my side. She agreed that not charging for those add-ons would explain the loss she was seeing, and that how Bob handled the situation was unprofessional and entirely against policy. Having Bob accuse me of stealing to protect himself was my last straw, and I put in my 2 weeks notice that same day. HR had apparently taken notice of how Bob was treating me, as her exact words were, "It's about time, I'm glad you're finally standing up for yourself." With my consent, she altered some of the dates to make my end date a week earlier than it should have been, since the schedule had not been written yet. Shortly after my last shift, I was informed by my friends that Bob no longer worked there as well. Anne was so upset with him that she called his supervisor and launched an investigation into his behavior. As it turns out, I was not the only one he would write up without a legitimate reason. They were also incredibly upset that he directly caused an unnecessary loss in profits. He could not blame me for it, as it was his words, and many people corroborated that he had said the same to them at one point or another. I was just the first to maliciously comply with his request, thus bringing his behavior to the attention of someone in a higher position than him. He was fired, effective immediately. And with that, we end today's video. Let me know what you think about the stories. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the stories and today's video? I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like what I do and want to support me, please subscribe and hit the like button. I hope you have a great day. Stay safe. Bye bye.